All right, so let's take a look at the figurative language Flipgrid post assignment. Let's read through it together, starting at the beginning. For this assignment, you will upload a video of yourself to Flipgrid, and in the video, you'll need to explain one form of figurative language and provide examples of that form of figurative language from Romeo and Juliet. Before you start thinking about which form of figurative language you'd like to explain, please understand that you have been assigned a form of figurative language. It is down at the second page. Okay, so take a look and find what name or where your name is and figure out what form of figurative language you are going to be working with. You're either going to be doing a metaphor, simile, oxymoron, or personification, or pun, which I know is technically not figurative language, but it's still worth exploring. So we're going to do it, all right? So make sure that you're aware you have been assigned a form of figurative language. It's not something you just get to choose, okay? So back up to the top. The first thing you need to do, step one, you need to know you have been assigned a form of figurative language, like I said. See the list below to find out which one you're going to work with for this assignment. Hopefully you just did that, all right? Number two, define. So plan out how you will define that form of figurative language. The definition should be in your own words. Please don't simply get a definition off of Google and read it, okay? Your definition should provide very general examples of that form of figurative language. So ones that you think of, these examples as you're giving your kind of definition of the figurative language term, again, should not come from Romeo and Juliet. That should just come from your own brain. And you can even throw in some cliche, well-known examples of that form of figurative language. For example, for like a simile, you could say, one example of a simile is life is like a box of chocolates, which of course is from Forrest Gump, really, really well-known simile. And you can use that in your definition. Okay, obviously, if you're going to do simile, please don't use that one since it's on the assignment sheet. All right. Number three, so after you've defined it and thought about how you're going to define that word, you are going to write out and illustrate. So let's look at that part, okay? It says find 3 examples of that form of figurative language in Romeo and Juliet. So if you're working with metaphors, you need to find 3 examples of metaphors within Romeo and Juliet. If you're doing oxymorons, you need to find 3 examples of oxymorons, okay? And those have to come from Romeo and Juliet. They can come from anywhere within the text. Okay, so Acts 1 through 5 are up for grabs. Feel free to use any of them. I would recommend that you focus on some of the bigger, more important ones, or maybe you focus on some of the more obscure ones and you really explain those. That'd be really cool too. You need to not just write it out, okay, but it does say to write it out. Write or type each example on a separate 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So again, you can hand draw this or do it on your iPad. And then very simply illustrate the figurative language example. Don't go overboard here. I know some of you guys are like iPad artist geniuses, and that's awesome. If you want to spend the time, go for it, really. But just please understand this is not like worth 50 points or anything like that, all right? I'll show you my example in just a second, okay? And it's not going to be anything close to what you guys can come up with, I'm sure. Okay, some things and kind of requirements that you need to be aware of. First of all, cite your example properly according to Shakespeare or play citations, which is actually different than your typical MLA formatted citation. Because in Shakespeare or play citations, you actually just do the act number, period, scene number, period, line number, period, just like this. Okay, that's what your parenthetical citation should look like. Notice that you do not need to include the author's last name in the citation. So you don't have to put Shakespeare and you don't have to put a page number. So these citations are a little bit different. Okay, I don't mean to throw you off, but this is how you would cite a play. The citation should simply look like this. Okay, so here's my citation. The 3 means that it comes from Act 3. Okay, 3 dot. 2 means that it's scene 2, so Act 3, scene 2, dot 24, which stands for the line number. And by the way, I have no idea what line that is, so hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. So again, you need to actually cite it. Your 3 visuals, and by the way, there should be 3 because you're going to have 3 examples, right? They cannot be done in pencil. I know some of you guys love pencil. Why? Because it's fast and easy and I don't know, you guys are lazy, I don't know. But you must include color, all right? The text can be black, not pencil, but the image must include color. Okay, you may handwrite and hand draw on a blank sheet of paper. Okay, so if you want to do this completely by hand, totally fine. Or you can type and digitally draw on the iPad and then you can print it out. Or you can type and digitally draw on the iPad and then show your visuals via iPad on the video. Okay, and I believe that's what I'm going to do in my little example Flipgrid post, okay? You obviously can only do that if you use a different device to upload to Flipgrid. If you draw digitally, you still need to actually draw, so no just grabbing images off the internet, all right? Keep the illustration simple but clear. So real quick, let me show you mine. It is right here. Let me move my little thing real quick, okay? Obviously, I'm not a fabulous artist, but mine comes from Act 2, and you can see my citation here. Act 2, Scene 2, Line 2, happens to be 2.2.2, and the line is, Juliet is the sun. So if I were doing a metaphor, I would say Juliet is the sun is an example of a metaphor from Act 2, Scene 2, Line 2. I have my picture of Juliet, and behind her is the sun. She is being compared to the sun, all right? Again, you will probably have a way better image than mine, but if yours is about the same caliber as mine, that's okay too. I didn't draw like an incredible scene or anything like that. I just gave a very, very simple drawing. Juliet is the sun, right? Juliet and sun, all right? The last thing you are going to do is actually record. So number 4 is record. Upload the video of you teaching your form of figurative language to Flipgrid. In the video, you're going to define the word, see number 2 above. You're going to give examples from Romeo and Juliet, 3 of them, and then actually show your visuals in the video, okay? So this is my visual. When you share your examples from Romeo and Juliet, you can't just say, an example of a metaphor is Juliet is the sun, here's my visual. Okay, you also need to explain what the figurative language means, all right? So I have an example of like how I might explain this metaphor. It says, in comparing Juliet to the sun, Romeo is saying that she is uniquely bright, radiant, and beautiful, all qualities that are similar to the sun. The metaphor continues on to contrast with the moon, which represents chastity. So comparing Juliet to the sun also reflects Romeo's romantic desire for Juliet, because he's saying that she's like the sun, not the moon. You get his drift, right? He wants her to be less like the chaste moon, okay? So that would be kind of my explanation of the metaphor, and that's important as well. And it doesn't have to take forever. You don't have to take 5 minutes to do this entire thing in terms of the video, but you're actually going to be given up to 5 minutes, okay? So if it's less than 5 minutes, that's okay. All right, that's pretty much it. I hope this all kind of makes sense. Please let me know if you have any questions.